Welcome to this pre-study video presentation prior to the NODEFIC NATO Logistic course. This presentation is one of 5 short presentations that all are mandatory before applying to the online digital training. Those of you who has completed the online digital training may apply to the 1-week advanced NATO Logistic training at NODEFIC in Oslo, Norway. Please find more information at our webpage, nodefic.no. After this introduction, you should be able to recall NATO's definition of logistics, NATO logistics principles, and NATO logistic functional areas, included related areas. Military logistics in NATO is defined as the science of planning and carrying out the movement and maintenance of forces. In its most comprehensive sense, the aspect of military operations which deals with design and development, acquisition, storage, movement, distribution, and maintenance, evacuation and disposal of material, transport and personnel, acquisition or furnishing of services, and medical health and service support. NATO logistic principles. In this pre-study, we will only mention those highlighted with blue color. The rest you may study by yourself. You will find the principles in AGP 4 Bravo Logistic Doctrine version 1, Collective Responsibility. NATO as an organization and its member nations have a joint responsibility for logistics, one for all and all for one. But NATO nations have the ultimate responsibility for ensuring that it is safeguarded. NATO as an organization can't impose on participating nations the following: participate in a NATO operation, reduce number of units, personnel or equipment, changes of unit type, or tactical courses of action. Each member nation is completely free to participate with whatever they want and is responsible for their entire contribution, including deployment to and from the area of operations, construction, securing and maintenance of owned camps, installations, infrastructure, and force protection, including medical, with the evacuation chain at all the way home, as well as logistics. There is an essential interdependency between responsibility and authority. The NATO commander, at the appropriate level, must be given enough authority to deploy, receive, employ, sustain, and redeploy forces assigned by nations in the most effective manner. For example, Commander Joint Logistics Support Group will, on behalf of Commander Joint Task Force, execute this authority during the RSOM process. We have usually no problem supporting a Joint Force Commander with combat units if needed. But the support with logistic units is often not so easy. All nations want to keep control over own resources, and maybe we don't trust each other completely either. Primacy of operational requirements. All logistic efforts from both the military and civil sector should be focused to meet the operational requirements necessary to accomplish the mission. Logistics must provide support in the right quantity, in the right place, at the right time. Everything else becomes irrelevant if the logistic system cannot support the Joint Force Commander's operation order. In order to achieve this, logistics must be fully integrated into the structure and the operational planning process. Cooperation and trust among participating nations is essential. This applies across the full spectrum of logistics, including between the civilian and military sector, and within and between nations. It contributes to the best use of limited resources. Developing and establishing an effective logistic framework must also be coordinated among NATO nations, non-NATO nations, and other relevant organizations at all levels to ensure that nations are aware of and react appropriately to both national and NATO priorities, and that such priorities are harmonized. Visibility and transparency. Visibility and transparency of logistic resources is essential for collecting the recognized logistic picture, planning effective logistic support, and managing it accordingly. NATO uses different tools for this, named LOGFAS. LOGFAS and the other tools will be presented during the NODEFIC logistic course. Synchronization of procedures in the logistic functional areas. It is important to recognize that the various logistic functions come together to form the totality of logistic support. The delivery of effective and efficient support relies on the condition and synchronization of procedures in the logistic functional areas. The standardization of information and process between NATO HQ and nations in all areas increases the potential for efficiency, delivery of support throughout the multinational sources, and consequently economies of scale. We have in this presentation introduced you to NATO logistic functions. Key takeaways: NATO collective responsibility and NATO functional areas and related areas. We recommend that you study AGP 4 Bravo Logistic Doctrine version 1 from December 2018. Thank you for following this presentation.